Hey guys, it is Lefforge. Welcome to my channel. We are doing things a little bit different today because I have a guest in studio. Can you believe? It's so exciting. So I have invited Chantel from DVC by Resale to come and be my guest today. She has dogs and I have dogs. So if you hear my dogs in the background, you might hear her dogs too, but that's what we're all about here, right? Is being relaxed and we're at home. That's good. I like that. So Chantel was my go-to person to ask specific questions about the resale, just kind of what does the process look like? You guys have been screaming for more detailed information about the resale process, and even though I've been through it, I haven't been through it in a minute. I'm certainly not a professional, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go directly to someone that I know knows the details, and that is Chantel. Chantel, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Jen. It is a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the invitation. I love being able to share what comes naturally to me. Been doing this for a minute or two. And yeah, so this is a great opportunity to kind of reach out and share with folks that may not find me otherwise. So thanks so much for having me.
So on that vein, I know your story, but they don't. So tell me a little bit about your business and what you do and what you love about it.
Okay, well, a little bit about me. I am a business owner. You mentioned dogs. I'm a dog lover and rescuer. Got to get that in there. I love to travel, and I really value connecting with people. Great conversation is probably my number one hobby, if I have to put that out there. I'm originally from South Carolina. I moved to Orlando almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm solar powered, so that never changed. It was impossible to leave. And then when I moved here, I originally went straight to Disney and became a cast member in resorts.
Oh, fun. And where did you work at the resorts?
Well, I was there for 5 years and I moved around. I believe variety is the spice of life in most things. And at that age, especially, I really kind of wanted to get to know a little bit of everything. So I started at what doesn't exist anymore, the Pompano Grill at the Lake Buena Vista Golf Club.
Oh, there
Some
you go.
people out there might remember that. In fact, I waited on Dick Nunis, as a matter of fact. There's my brush with fame. And quite a few of the Disney executives came in for lunch, which is really fun.
That's awesome.
Then I went to Fort Wilderness. I worked at Crockett's Tavern, which was a full-service restaurant at the time, and the Hoop-Dee-Doo Review. I'll throw that in. I still hear that song in my head. I have nightmares about not remembering it, even though I wasn't a performer. So that was fun. Still can sing it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Then I helped open the Beach Club, which is probably one of my coolest things. I worked at Martha's Vineyard, which, a little bit of tidbit, they were the first restaurant / hospitality industry to have a Cruvinet in North America. And a Cruvinet system is a wine system that is equivalent to a beer tap, but for wine. So it kept the wine fresh. And Martha's Vineyard at Beach Club was the first place to have it. So that was kind of neat. And I actually was there Sunday, and they don't have it anymore. So apparently it didn't work out so well, but I thought it was fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. So your love of Disney obviously is still well intact. And
Absolutely.
Tell me about DVC by Resale. What do you guys do?
Sure. Well, the business itself, the name kind of covers it all. We help members sell their ownership in the simplest way possible and help buyers save thousands of dollars versus buying from Disney directly.
Okay, that is the best way to put it. So when I first started talking to people about how resale was such a good deal for them, they get, you and I think, used the word yesterday, oogie, right? They get oogie about it. They're like, I don't know, that feels weird. And if I do it with Disney, I just give them my money and we're done. And it's easy and simple. And so I think there's a lot of misperceptions out there about what the resale process actually looks like. So what are the main differences between buying a DVC timeshare contract directly from Disney and buying from DVC by Resale or from another resale broker?
Sure. Today, I think the most talked about difference, and probably the elephant in the room, if you will.
It's Dumbo.
The Dumbo in the room is probably the perks.
Okay.
What I mean by perks is if you buy direct from Disney, you can convert points to use them on a cruise or a hotel versus staying in a DVC deluxe resort. Another perk is an annual pass discount, which is equivalent to most Florida resident discounts. And then they do have invitations to special DVC member events. And in buying resale, you're not going to have the ability to get those specific perks per se. However, it is arguable that the points should never be converted because it's not cost effective. In fact, I just finished a blog article that breaks down how much money you lose if you convert your points, which is sort of the anomaly that Disney doesn't want people to figure out per se, because it is their main selling point. So then that leads us to the main difference in buying resales, and that is the cost. Resales, you will typically save 50 to 75% versus directly from Disney, and that translates into thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So first of all, I read, you were kind enough to send me an advanced copy of your blog post because I'm special, but I loved, Chantel, you guys actually went through and gave you, for example, using your points on a Disney cruise, why that's not a good deal. And she works it out as cost per point for the cruise as opposed to cost per point to use it as a Disney resort. And as a resale owner, I found that incredibly helpful. One of the other things that I think people have a misconception about is that somehow if they buy from Disney, they're getting a later expiration date of their contract than if they buy resale. So can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yes, that is a great point interestingly enough, even sellers, I had this happen this morning. A seller called and said, Chantel, I'm completing the paperwork and I own Saratoga Springs and I just don't know what the expiration date is. And I said, don't worry, I know exactly when it is. It's 2054. Why? Because it doesn't matter when you purchased. It is simply based upon the resort.
Right.
Each resort has its own expiration date. Now, when Disney is presenting this and selling this, they don't bring up that you're buying a 40-year lease that actually started 10 years ago and was a 50-year lease because they don't want you to feel like you missed out on anything.
Right.
So the easiest way, and you can reference this on our website or pretty much any website that's going to reference a Disney Vacation Club, the years of expiration are what they are based on the resort. The only exception, and there is one, there's always one little kink in there, is Old Key West.
Okay.
Disney had a little program, experimental, and it didn't go so well, where they offered members the ability to extend the lease on that one from 2042 to 2057. Very few people took them up on that. If you buy from Disney today, you will get a 2057 expiration date, but the majority of owners still have that 2042. Okay. So other than that, the year of expiration is relative to the resort, not when you make that purchase.
So
Great question.
Even if I bought something that was one of the newer resorts like Copper Creek, I don't even know if you have, I doubt you have any resale contracts right now for that since it just opened, but you will,
we have one. We've already had one.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So if I buy it from you guys or if I buy it from Disney, or let's use an older example like Bay Lake Tower, whether I buy it from you or I buy it from Disney, my expiration date is exactly the same because it's not tied to my particular contract. It's tied to the resort itself, correct?
Exactly. Okay. And I'm so glad you brought that up because most people, they just never get that. Okay. And it's because there's a lot of information to take in when you're buying these. And I get that, which is one of the reasons I'm always available to answer questions because it's interesting in that once somebody gets it, they get it, but there's just so much to absorb through that process. And then once you're there, you're like, oh, this is so smart. This is a great program, but it just kind of takes a little bit of work to get there.
And I would never accuse anybody of being disingenuous, but I have heard from friends that have gone to the Disney presentation and they were told that they couldn't stay at Vero Beach or Alani if they bought their points directly from Disney or if they bought their points resale. And that just really threw me off. I was like, I don't, surely you misunderstood what they said, because it's sometimes I think
Yeah.
people walk away with some, maybe they got there on purpose, but some misguided perceptions of what
Sure.
does, the biggest one that I always heard is, oh, if you buy resale, the cast members treat you differently when you call to make your reservation. And I've now owned my resale contract for 8 years. I have talked to them dozens of times. I've never felt anything but the same Disney customer service that everybody else gets. So it's those kinds of myths. And when you're talking about, and you put some numbers in your blog post, you're talking about saving $5,000, $6,000, $12,000, depending on where you're purchasing and how many points you're buying. That's a big saving. And I want to touch on this before I move on to the next point, because this is something I feel like I keep having to reiterate. The only thing that changes as far as your costs associated with your DVC when you buy from you guys is your initial purchase price, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Correct.
So your dues are going to be the same, everything else that you pay. And, over the life of your contract, you're paying way more in dues over, your 42 years or whatever it is than you will for your initial purchase price. But that is a big chunk of change when you first go to write that check. I was very happy with both of our resale contracts.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So the other thing that I get asked about a lot is the actual process itself. So how long does that process take, and kind of what does that look like? And then also, what is right of first refusal? Everybody uses the acronym ROFR, and people are like, what the heck is that? So can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, sure. The closing process when you buy resale right now takes about an average of 60 days. Now that can vary, and most of the time it varies because of Disney's return rate on the right of first refusal. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and then I'll kind of get back to that closing process. The right of first refusal simply means that when you go to sell your Disney Vacation Club, you must find a ready, willing, and able buyer. You must drop a contract with all the terms disclosed. And then simply you give it to Disney, and they look at it and they say, oh, at these terms, we would like to buy it ourselves. Or 95% of the time, you know what, we don't want to buy this. We're going to let Jen have it, and it's done. Maybe because they're too busy selling their own inventory to worry about resales. The exception, which I think is very important to discuss, because a lot of people are concerned about the right of first refusal, but one of the things I'd like to touch on is why the right of first refusal helps every single one of us as DVC members. And that is, if let's take, for example, you went to Copper Creek yesterday and you paid $220 per point. Yes, don't do that. Please don't do that.
Sorry.
But let's just say that you did, because you didn't know any better.
I know. My face. Did you see my face? I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy, Bill.
And let's say that you came home and heaven forbid you lost your job. Mm-hmm. And suddenly, and let's just hypothetically say you paid cash for it, but suddenly you lost your job, and having that money back became crucial because you had a 6-month plan in place to make sure your family was provided for. So you suddenly need to sell that property. Well, if you were to call me and I say to you, well, I know you paid $220 yesterday, but probably the most you're going to sell it for today is $75 per point, because that's what the market is. Well, you have a hard time swallowing that pill, and that would just create more anxiety and angst for you as far as getting through the next 6 months. So the right of first refusal basically prevents that from happening. Mm-hmm. So if 50% of $220 is $110 per point, that's probably your worst case scenario as a seller, as far as the hit you're going to take from buying that brand new property to now selling what the world views as a used property, even though it's never been used. And keeping someone from buying directly from Disney, they have to have a discount, and they don't get those perks. So what's going to be that incentive? It's going to be a discount on the price. So through the right of first refusal, they're maintaining the value of this real estate that thousands upon thousands of us have invested in, so that if you or I need to sell tomorrow, we're not going to get pennies on the dollar. We're going to get dollars on the dollar, so to speak.
Yes,
So
I love that.
often missed, especially from a buyer's perspective, because obviously once you discover resales and you feel safe with it and you understand how much money can be saved, then a lot of people go into negotiation mode.
Right.
And they think, ooh, I want to save as much money as I can, Chantel. I'm going to make an offer really, really low. Let me just see if they take it. Well, then we have to caution you and say, look, that right of first refusal is real. Right. And most sellers are familiar with the market and the value. So you've got to be careful, or they will buy it out from under you. And that's for the good of everybody involved.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that, because it's sort of like, you know, if your neighbor sells their house for a third of what it's worth and then everybody's real estate values go way down, this is kind of ensuring that our value, it's why there are other timeshares out there that I could go on eBay and buy for pennies on the dollar. Disney does not work that way, and it's because they exercise right of first refusal that we still maintain the integrity of a really good product. So I love that you mentioned that, because I don't even think for the typical buyer that even makes sense to them. But that was a really great way to explain it. So
Super, thank you.
If I started, let's say I called you tomorrow and I said, Chantel, I would like to buy 120 points at Bay Lake Tower, and I have a couple different use years in mind, and you don't need to go into use year because I've done that on another video, and I'll refer them to that video, because it always freaked me out. I'm like, why do you call it a use year? It's a month. Like, it's not a year, it's a month.
Exactly.
Call it a use month. It's not a year. So yes, I know there's a year between the months, but there's always a year between one month and it happening again. But anyway, so if I tell that to you, what does that look like? Assuming that there's a contract available, 60 days, what's the first thing that I have to do at that point?
Sure. It's pretty simple. We've got things dialed in on our website. You could see that property advertised today, click a button, enter your legal names for the deed, address, day and evening phone numbers. We have all the costs clearly displayed. There's nothing hidden. I don't like to play those games. I won't do it. You're going to know what your bottom dollar is before you ever say, yes, I agree. Assuming that all looks great to you, you're familiar with the resale process, you don't have any questions for me, which if you do, just give us a call, send me an email. Then you hit submit and you immediately purchase that property. Wow. It keeps anybody else from buying it out from under you. We're the only broker that keeps our website in real time. So once that's submitted, you're going to have an emailed contract waiting for you when you check your email the next time.
Awesome.
You print that, you sign it, you send in a 10% deposit check. It's going to go to the closing agency of your choice, and it's going to be held in escrow while we then submit everything to Disney for that right of first refusal process. Okay. That's going to take about 30 days, and that's usually the hardest part for most people because they want to know, did I get it? Did I get it? So I usually get a phone call or an email around the second or third week, and I have to reassure them that everything's fine. And that response time from Disney can change. About a month ago, it was 2 weeks. Last week, it was 29 and a half days.
Wow. Okay.
And because people are on the internet and they keep up with each other in the groups and say, well, mine went in this day and mine went in that way. Well, I heard from mine yesterday. And Chantel, why haven't I heard from mine? Does that mean anything? No, it does not. It is simply Disney administration and how busy they are and what they've got going on, because they're handling everything beyond resales. They're handling everything. So we are just part of the pie that they're constantly dealing with on a day-to-day level.
So yeah, how I got myself through that time, because our first contract I think was like 23 days. Our second one took forever. It was an international seller, which can slow everything down, and it was fine. But we saved about $10,000 on that contract. So I kept telling myself, I'm paying myself to, like, how much am I making hourly? Yes, by being willing to wait, an extra 30 days to actually have those points loaded in my account. And one thing that I don't want to go off on a tangent, I may have to do a whole nother video about it, is that sometimes, as we know, contracts come up on the market that are preloaded with points from previous years. And then you're not only saving, you actually have a fully loaded vacation already in there ready to go. So we were very happy with our process both times. So moving on to the next question I have for you. So I purchased my contract and something happened. In fact, we're kind of in this situation right now where we have 60 points at Vero Beach, and I'm really interested in purchasing something that is on Disney property because it's getting harder and harder for us to book on Disney property at 7 months. We love we love Vero Beach. That's why we have a contract there because it's have you been there to Vero?
Yes, love it.
Oh,
Love it.
it's like heaven on earth to me. It's so comfortable. We love it. But I want a contract that is on Disney property. So I'm looking to sell my 60 points. So if I'm a seller, what does that process look like?
Sure. Earlier this year, we made that selling process the simplest it has ever been because it can now be done from the convenience of your computer without ever printing a piece of paper. So simply, you can go to our website, and there's 3 pages. You're going to need your name, address, phone number, etc., your membership ID number, your contract number, and your signature, and I'm assuming your husband's on the deed there, and his signature. And you can literally do that with your mouse or your trackpad on your laptop, and you could have it advertised today with that being submitted. So that process as far as getting the paperwork going is simpler than ever. And if you happen to be an old-fashioned kind of person, and I don't like to use that word, but I don't know what's better, and you want to print it out and have ink to paper, you can still do that. Both options are available. But that, to get started, easiest it's ever been. Now, the cost is, of course, the main question that we get, and it's pretty straightforward, surprisingly. Disney has a $150 fee per contract. That's basically their administration costs to handle old owner to new owner. If you have multiple contracts, you need to keep that in mind. It'll be $150 for each one. Our brokerage has a small commission, which we guarantee to be the lowest. So if you ever find one lower, we promise to beat it. And that's it. You're not going to have any costs other than those 2 to focus on. And once you submit that paperwork to us, we begin advertising it immediately. We call you with all offers. It's up to you to accept or decline them as they come in. So probably the other frequently asked question is, how do I figure out the price? Because we do let you as the seller decide what price you want to put it on the market for. And if you don't have any idea, then give me a call. I can look up what we just sold at that resort in that range, give you a pretty good idea of what the market is. I can also tell you your competition, because if you're competing against 100 other Vero Beach owners, you want to make sure yours is priced lower than 99 of them at least, if you want yours to be the next one to sell. So those things in mind, we get the price from you, we advertise it. If someone buys it at the list price, again, because the website is set up, they click the button, they submit it, it's sold, you get a contract, you sign it, you send it back, and you're done for that preliminary part. Disney waives their right of first refusal. Your closing documents come to you, and this is really the hardest part of the transaction. You'll have to take those before a notary and get those signed because legally we need to make sure you really want to sell it. And that's it. You're done. You get a check in the mail, and you are free to buy that next DVC Orlando property if that's what you want to do.
Okay, so I don't have to go to Florida if I want to sell my contract, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I
get asked that one a lot.
Chantel, I'll come if you make me. We could have a drink at the Grand Floridian or something like that, but it won't be for a real estate transaction, right?
Well, I tell people if you need an excuse for your spouse to come to Disney, I will be happy to vouch that you should come and sign those documents at the closing agency. However, truth be told, you absolutely do not need to do that. Everything can be done from home. We really have dialed this in, and I tell people it's the simplest real estate transaction you will ever do. So
what do you feel like as someone who does this all day long and answers everybody's million questions? Because, it is a big, I use the word investment on the website, and I have one of my subscribers be like, it's not an investment. A timeshare is not an investment. I'm like, well, it maybe not be a financial investment, but it's an investment in your family. So that's why I use that word, because when we decided to do this, My husband's biggest objective was our retirement, and mine was to make sure that we had good family time together. So he's like, okay, so we'll negotiate. You get DVC, and we'll increase our 401k contributions by this, and then everybody's happy. I'm like, done deal. And it was so good. But what do you feel like are or is the biggest misperception about buying a Disney resale DVC?
I think probably that people are going to get ripped off.
Yep.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you need to feel safe and secure, especially when you're sending thousands of dollars across state to Chantel at DVC by Resale, who you may or may not know anything about. And then you're sending it to the closing agency, which is a bonded agency, and there's lots of security built in. But I think that misperception is the one that keeps people from taking the plunge, and they'll go and they'll buy from Disney perhaps the first time, and then they typically come to us within the first 3 years wanting to add 50 points, which is so tough to come by, and is typically sells for a higher price as far as comparative to the 150 or greater allotments. But that's why we put everything in writing to protect both parties in the transaction. And as a transaction broker, we can't work to the detriment of either party. So while there are unscrupulous brokers out there, if you choose a licensed real estate broker, and I think this is important, they need to be able to answer your questions about the Disney Vacation Club. There are timeshare resale brokers out there who will just put anything up to say that they have that property and can sell it. But when you call them and you ask them a question about U-Share, for example, they don't have any idea. And that is a red flag, and you want to run as fast as you can away from that broker. But then the bottom line is that contract. Everything needs to be in writing. We're very specific about the amount of points you're going to get from last year, the year before, if there's banked, this year and next year. The dollar amount, the time of the closing, everything to protect you and make you feel safe is in that contract if you're working with a reputable broker. If those things aren't there, then pause, stop, and make sure you're safe. And getting over that for most people is the hardest part. Once they're beyond that, they know, hey, Chantel's been doing this for 21 years. She clearly knows what's going on.
Right.
And just like with any real estate transaction, weird things happen.
Right.
The difference between DVC by Resale and another company in that regard is you're going to hear from us immediately, and we're going to say, this is what's wrong. How would you like to handle it? And you have the option to walk away, start over, get something else. And anything less than that, in my opinion, would just be unscrupulous. So, 99%, and I'm going to knock on wood because I don't want to mess myself up. 99% of the time, they are streamlined. There's no hiccups. There's no bumps. When a random thing occurs, however, you're not going to lose out. We're going to make sure you're protected, and that's what it boils down to.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. So, I want to kind of end our time together. I have a feeling that you and I will do one of these again. So you guys that are watching, if you have specific questions for Chantel, please put those in the comments, because I will try to get with her and answer as many of those as I can. But if we have a lot, Chantel, you would come back and do this again, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And in the comments, happy to answer any questions there if they pop up.
Okay. And she actually has, if you've watched my other DVC video, Chantel has been really great on a couple of different occasions, questions that I just don't know the answers to. I know a lot, but I mostly know like the best drink to get at the Polynesian. I don't, I may not.
Priorities,
yes,
Jen.
yes.
You're in line, my friend.
Exactly. So go talk to her, and then you can come have a drink with me at the Polynesian. So that's all.
There we go.
Good.
There we
So
go.
also, I just want to say thank you for coming on. Before I ask you my last question, though, we're doing a giveaway. Well, I'm not. You are. Chantel was so sweet to sponsor a giveaway for this video today. So Chantel, no, I feel like I'm on The Price is Right. Tell them what we're giving away.
Tell them what you won, Bob. Okay. We have kind of a list here of things. I have done 10 or 11 Disney Vacation Club members cruises.
Wow.
And for those of you who don't know, they give away very unique items on those cruises. You pay more for them. However, they're very unique. And if you're a Disney aficionado, I highly recommend you do them at least one time if you can, simply because the Sherman Brothers and just some of the character, what's the word? The guys that draw animators.
Oh, animators. Yeah.
Animators. They're on board. So great opportunities. But anyway, they give away gifts every single night. You come in from dinner and there's some fabulous thing waiting on you. And I collect those. And on opportunities like this, I get to share those with folks who are watching and maybe can appreciate them.
Yeah.
So first, we have a DVC member cruise ball cap 2017.
So all cute. Right. I love it.
The guys and girls will love that, hopefully. Last year's cruise was Coco themed. Okay. The new Pixar movie actually was just released on DVD, I believe. So we have a lot of those items. I decided to go with a theme there. We have a Coco t-shirt, size XL.
Gorgeous.
And we have a, losing everything. If you've ever been on a cruise, you know we have Pirate Night. So here is a scarf for you or your children or children at heart.
Yeah.
Whoever that may be.
I love that.
We know how that goes. This is a treasure map on canvas. So you can see it's one of those large ones. It's kind of cool.
I love that.
That's going to be fun for someone's wall. And then we have these, which I think are pretty fantastic. So you've got concept art from Coco. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous.
Playing his guitar. That's going to be included. We have a lithograph.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love the color on that. That is gorgeous.
Yeah. And then we have a poster. I don't know if this is considered a lithograph or not. It didn't say so on the back, so I don't want to call it a lithograph, but it's a poster, and this is, in my opinion, probably the coolest item in there.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Yeah, and you guys, I'm going to put I'll insert a photograph probably right here of everything that we're giving away as well. And what Chantel and I want you to do.
But wait,
but wait, there's more.
There's more. Okay, so two lanyards.
Awesome.
One from the DVC 2017 cruise, one from a platinum member. That's coveted. I'm just kidding. There's plenty of us. And then to put it all in, a Pixar Disney bag.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So there you go.
We are going to give away this entire prize package to one lucky winner. And all I want you to do is, number one, you do have to be subscribed to my channel. So make sure you do that first. And then I want you to comment, what is your favorite DVC resort? Now, you don't have to be a member to answer this question, right? You can find, all the DVC resorts are listed in multiple different places, including on Chantel's website, where you can find not only all the resorts listed and the dues for each resort, but you can also find a ton of great information. She's got an FAQ on there that is really, really helpful. And you guys, just give her a call. Like, if you're not sure, if you've got questions that you don't see the answers to on the website, as you can tell, she's very friendly. She's very nice to work with. She would be happy to answer all your questions. And you know what? She gets as much as anybody that you're spending a lot of money. And so you want to make sure this is the same purchase amount that most of us would spend on a vehicle, right? So
exactly.
This is a lot of money, and it's a lot of money ongoing. So we want to make sure we understand what we're getting into. So give Chantel a call. And Chantel, in closing, I have a very important question for you. Are you ready? This could be a tough one. What is your favorite DVC resort?
Oh my goodness. I knew you were going to ask this, and yet it still remains difficult to answer.
It's like picking your favorite child.
Exactly. I wrote an article. That was exactly what I wrote on the article. It's like picking your favorite child. A mother can't do these things. If I absolutely positively must, I'll tell you what that one's going to be. But my answer has always been, it depends on the season. For example, winter, I want to go to the Wilderness Lodge. The Pacific Northwest, sit by the fire, drink cocoa feeling is undeniable. We don't get that anywhere else in Florida. So that's where I want to be in the winter. And then I'll spare you all the other seasons and why I want to go to which resorts. Boardwalk Food and Wine, Beach Club Food and Wine, Old Key West summertime. Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
my favorite, if I have to choose one, is probably going to be the Contemporary Bay Lake Tower at the Contemporary. And not for any other reason than I like that style. I am a contemporary style girl. I like the clean lines. I like simple. I am not much into clutter and dark browns. I'm solar powered, so I want bright, sunshiny atmosphere. And oh my goodness, if you've ever been inside a Grand Villa there, it is breathtaking.
Maybe someday. Yeah, that's what you'll have to sell my 60-point Vero contract, and then we're going to buy something at Bay Lake. So you're going to help me with both of those, right? Yay!
We can do
that. Yay! We just have to convince my husband that the second part is a good idea.
Well, from what you've told me about him so far, he seems like a pretty fantastic guy.
Yeah, don't tell him that. I pretty much get whatever I want. So, you know.
Your secret is safe with me.
I know. It's all cool. It's all cool. All right, Chantel, thank you so much for your time. This has been a blast. You guys, ask Chantel your questions below. Enter to win that fabulous prize package. I'll put all of her info in the show notes. We will see you next time. Have a great day, Chantel.
Thank you, Jen. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. Bye,
okay. So that was awesome, right? I wanted to come and just briefly finish it out, let you guys know that Chantel was so gracious to come on and answer all those great questions. I had so much fun. It was long, so if you've made it all the way to the end, I am so very proud of you. That is not my normal format. That's not normally the kind of videos that I do, but I felt like I would, when she said she would do it, I was like, let's take a departure from what we normally do so we can really get people the facts that they need. So I hope this was helpful. Please let me know. I hope you have a great day. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Jen Lefforge, and I'll see you next time.